Dietitians with eating disorders? Coming up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out my resources below. If you want to speak with me, there is a link in the box. I've gotten a few emails over the last few months from dietitians and health coaches and nutritionists who themselves have their own eating disorder. This might seem kind of crazy. It's like, wait a second, dietitian with an eating disorder? Yeah, it can happen. I've said it before in other videos, but dietitians are the underrated healthcare professional. Nobody really talks about them, but I think they do a tremendous amount of good. But eating disorders and disordered eating are so pervasive that it affects even them. Seems like a little bit of a contradiction. Does it mean they should turn in their licenses and stop practicing? Not so fast. When you consider that a lot of dietitians are in their 20s, 30s, most of them are female, you can expect a few of them to have their own eating issues. How many dietitians and health coaches have eating issues? I don't know. There's no way to tell. But I imagine quite a few just based on the demographics that they're appealing to. So it's hard to tell, but there might be a few out there, i.e. young women in their teens and early 20s who want to have a career in healthcare. And also many dietitians who don't have an ED anymore have admitted to previous eating issues. I like dietitians because they prescribe food and diets instead of prescribing medicine like physicians or prescribing exercise like physical therapists. Dietitians can tell people how to eat based on their condition. I wish people saw their dietitian before they saw their physician. They probably get better results. I don't mean the crap on physicians, but I think we have too many medications. I think what happens is a young woman, because most dietitians are women, have their own eating issues, but they're also really interested in diet and nutrition. That's how I was in my early 20s, and that's when I started to research fitness and bodybuilding and triathlon and endurance and physiology. I got really into it. The irony is, the more I learned, the worse I got. It's like I consumed all this information, but I can never execute. I can never do it for myself. I felt like, yeah, that's good information for them. That's not good information for me. I knew what I needed to do intellectually, but I didn't really believe it. I thought what I needed to do was to eat less, be lean, weigh as little as possible, and that would give me the best results possible. I think a lot of people in weight-dependent sports think like this, and that's why you see a lot of EDs among runners and gymnasts and wrestlers, any weight-dependent sport. I think the same thing happens to aspiring dietitians or health coaches. One way that they cope with their problems is they go to dietitian school, or they study nutrition, or they get really into fitness, or they become dietitians, therapists, counselors, whatever. It's almost a coping mechanism itself. And so they're helping other people, but they themselves are struggling with the same problem. The irony is that these dietitians, health coaches that emailed me said that their clients were getting good results, even though they were struggling themselves. They can help other people, but it's like they couldn't help themselves. Is that fraudulent? Is that contradictory? Kind of, but they're also getting these clients results. One of them said that she could get a result for anybody except herself, and it was devastating. I think that's what really matters, the result. Can the dietitian, the health coach, the nutritionist, the personal trainer, can he or she get the result for the client? I was a personal trainer in my early 20s, and I had my own eating issues, so I was trying to get people healthy, and then in the background I was chewing and spitting, binging, purging. It continued through physical therapy school, and then it continued early in my professional career as a PT. So I'm teaching exercise and healthy lifestyle, meanwhile I've got these issues in the background. In the end, I needed a job, and I couldn't stop and say, I need to focus on my recovery. Until I figure this out, I'm not going to see any more patients. I figured I was getting them results, so why not continue? And it can be devastating for a health coach because she's giving all this great advice and people are getting results and she's seeing people improve their lives, but she's still struggling. And then how does she get help herself? Well, I'm a health coach and, I'm binging in the background when I'm alone. But if you are a dietitian or a health coach or nutritionist, you need to solve this. There is a certain sense of urgency here. This doesn't mean that you should try to recover on your own and you shouldn't seek help. It can seem kind of embarrassing. It can deflate your ego a little bit. Oh, I'm a dietitian and I'm not eating right. I get it. But you have a life too. You're a human too. You have a body, you have a health, you have a future. And if you care about any of that, you need to find a solution ASAP. Some people who become health coaches and dietitians, they never conquer their problems themselves. It doesn't mean they can't, but in some ways they put the cart before the horse. But is it reasonable to put off your profession until you figure this out. What if that takes 4 or 5 years? You have to pay bills in the end. So how do dietitians and health coaches recover? The same as anybody else. It doesn't really matter what your professional title is. You need to figure out what the problem is, how long this problem has been going on, why you keep doing it, and then also consider what are your alternatives. If you don't continue this behavior, then what? Instead of having a pint of ice cream at night, what are you going to do? There's more to it than that, but I'm just saying, just because you have a specific title after your name doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue recovery. In fact, it's even one more reason to do it. One thing that these dietitians, health coaches told me is that they felt like they were living a contradiction. And that can be a terrible feeling too. They like the results that they see in their clients, but they also want to get the same result themselves. And nobody wants to live a lie. A lot of people who come to me, not necessarily dietitians, say, I feel like I'm hiding something, I'm living this lie, I'm living this contradiction. And that can be one of the worst parts about it. Not necessarily the physiological effects or the weight gain and everything else, but it's also this contradiction. Like, you eat a salad in front of everybody else, and then you have a box of cereal when you're alone. Living this double life, Jekyll and Hyde, it can be embarrassing, and living a contradiction is no way to live. The other problem too is that an ED will affect your professional career. Even if you are getting your clients' results, even if you really like your job, and I'm sure most dietitians do, at some point this starts to affect your focus and your energy. When you can't direct all of your attention to your clients and your profession, and you're thinking about this disorder that you have and you want to quit and you don't know how, it will rob you of mental energy. It will rob your focus. What's most important about working with a dietitian is, do you like her? Is she getting you the result? Is she helping you eat better? If you found out that she had her own eating issue, but she was getting you a result, would that affect your relationship? You decide. And just because you have your own eating issue doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue this as a career, but it does mean that recovery has even more urgency. And it doesn't mean that you should quit your job and turn in your license. You're not violating any practice act here, but it will interfere with your professional development, your health, and your personal development. And don't forget, recovery for dietitians and health coaches is the same for anybody else. Alright, what do you think about dietitians, health coaches, and nutritionists who have their own eating issues? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my resources below. If you liked this video, I'm sure you like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them, and I'll see you there.